please open your Bible for our scripture reading this morning to Romans chapter 10, verses 13 through 15. If you're using a pew Bible, it'll start at the very bottom of page 1710 and carry over to 1711. Again, our reading is Romans chapter 10, verses 13 through 15. Hear the word of the Lord. Everyone who calls on the name of the Lord will be saved. How then can they call on the one they have not believed in? And how can they believe in the one of whom they have not heard? And how can they hear without someone preaching to them? And how can anyone preach unless they are sent? As it is written, how beautiful are the feet of those who bring good news. This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God.
Who was in your corner growing up? Who showed you the ropes? Who challenged you to go farther? Who called out the greatness in you? Who celebrated your wins with you? Who was it that pushed you to pursue your dreams? The chances are you wouldn't be who you are today without your friends. And that's why we want to invite you to be a friend. Come alongside a community of kids to walk with them on their journey to changing the world. Let's be friends.
Well, good morning again. We've been talking for weeks, actually started on Easter, about today being our Children's Cup Sunday, where we're focusing on our partnership with Children's Cup, and we're calling this Friendship Sunday because you have an opportunity today. If you aren't already a friend to the community in San Jose, Belize, you can do that today. Among some other incredible things, a special offering to purchase a piece of property in San Jose, Belize, and also a chance to sign up for to demonstrate your interest in being a part of our next mission trip coming up in November. And so today, we are really privileged. I'm excited to have with us Dan Ohlerking. Dan was here about a year ago on our first Children's Cup Sunday when we originally launched into our partnership with Children's Cup. And he's back with us today to share with us a little bit about what's going on in Children's Cup and some of the exciting things that are going on there. Dan serves as the president of Children's Cup, and he's my brother from another mother. It's amazing how you can, he lives in Louisiana, I live here, and really what we shared together was this whole Children's Cup thing, and it's amazing how close you can get when you're in mission partnership together. So I'm excited to have Dan here with us, and we decided to do something a little different today. Instead of having Dan preach, all you guys said it was awesome last year, but we thought we'd change it up anyway. And so we're going to do a little bit of Q&A because there are some things going on at the Children's Cup level that I think are exciting that might be a little different format for us to hear how things are going if we do it a little differently. And so we've been talking about Children's Cup, Dan. We've been talking about it for a little over a year now, and we've been watching videos each week and talk a little bit more over the last month about what Children's Cup does and about what our partnership in Belize is. But if you could sort of help us step back a bit from our partnership in Belize and in San Jose and all that kind of stuff, and just talk to us a little bit about what the vision and mission of Children's Cup is, and a little bit in that, what the shift has been for Children's Cup as you've moved from this sponsorship model where people can sponsor kids into what we're now calling friendship. So share with us a little bit about that.
So thank you. It's amazing to be here, and I totally agree, brother from another mother. We don't know who mom is, but it is like dinner last night. We could have stayed and talked for hours just because there is an excitement. Here's what, I didn't really talk a lot. I asked a couple questions. And they just gush about you guys. Like, they love this church. They love this city. And I think it's really, you guys should know, and this is not part of your question. I'll get to it. But I'm going to say it because I'm here. And you guys probably don't see it like I see it because I'm outside looking in, getting closer inside all the time. But you have pastors that are exceptional. The fact that they love each other so, like, they're both engaged in this. They're both, and I don't know if you notice it, but you should, that they actually do love each other. They like each other. And that's a really cool thing to have as pastors, to have that example in front of you. And that's honestly one of the reasons why we love partnering with you guys. Children's Cup, my parents started it 31 years ago, And their dream was to feed 300 or 400 kids and tell them about Jesus. That was a big dream, and for them it really was a big dream. God has blessed that. Now it's about 16,000 kids around the world that we're getting to feed and tell them about Jesus. The change we made this year was we've started to realize, hey, we can do more than just feed them and tell them about Jesus. Because if that's all we do, then we're getting kids that are healthy, they're hearing about Jesus because they're not hungry, so now they're listening and hearing about Jesus, they get to go to heaven. Well, what about that part about the Great Commission, which said go make disciples? So can we do more to help these kids actually grow up and change their world from the inside out? Our vision statement is giving hope, inspiring dreams, changing worlds. That progression of you give them hope, it looks like a meal, but it really is Jesus. Hope's name is Jesus. And then as that hope takes root, then inspiring dreams, these kids start to dream. They start to think, whoa, there may be more than, maybe I don't have to join a gang. Maybe I'm not going to be somebody who's just scrounging around for meals. Maybe God can do something with my life. We start to teach them about God having a plan for their life. And so they start to dream. And then those dreams, as we're able to equip them and see them challenged and their faith grow because of them rising to a challenge or believing God to help them through school or to help them go get a job or whatever. As we help them have the skills, they believe God for it, we help them in their faith, then they actually are the ones that go change their world. We're helping Belize. Children's Cup is helping. You guys as partnership in that community specifically is helping that community. But the real help is these kids growing up and changing what their community is in the future.
And so you just mentioned how we're helping, that we're making a difference. And so for us, this started, and some of you guys don't even know, this started on our missions committee before that big thing we refer to as the pandemic. And then that slowed everything down. And then when we could get started rolling again, so a little over 2 years ago, we really reinvested again and decided we're going to do this. We're not going to get, the pause button is removed. We're going no matter what. And so we started prayerfully developing this partnership in this mission organization that we were like, it's Children's Cup. Here's what we know about it. And so we have an idea on our end as people who've been sponsoring kids and now are shifted to that idea of being a friend to the community of San Jose. We've had people who've been on a vision trip. We had another team last year on a mission trip. So we sort of understand what that partnership looks like from our end, from our perspective. But what does that partnership look like from Children's Cup's perspective? Well, partnering with a church like us.
Yeah, one of the things that has been a value for me, I've been leading it now for almost 5 years, and one of the things that we came in was we can't do this without the church. Jesus said, I came to build my church and not to build my nonprofit, which nonprofits have a role, but our value to the kingdom is corollary to how we help build the church. So it's useless for us to do what we're doing on the ground and not have a church for these kids to grow up in, because we're not a church. But we partner with churches, and that's true on the ground, but it's also true the churches that we partner with in the U.S., it's not just anybody who wants to give money. I don't know if you ever felt like you were going through a little filtering process, but we check the churches out that want to partner and send teams. We don't want to send, I'm not I guess I shouldn't say it this way, but if there's a Buddhist group that wants to come and serve our kids, we would be very careful what we allow them to do. Hand out meals, great, but they're not going to tell them about Buddha. So that's an extreme example. You guys, it's a bad example. But you guys, we look at churches and say, hey, is this a church that has the values that we want our kids to grow up believing and having? Because you are influencing those kids. Even if you haven't been on the trip, which you should go on a trip because it's amazing, one of the best experiences of your life. It'll change everything about you. But even if you don't do that, you're changing those kids' lives by your influence on your giving, your praying, the exchange of notes and stuff that you get to do. We are very careful about that because we want to see the kids grow up with a healthy view of God. And we have a big value on we want to help your church grow. The partnership should not just be you guys give and the kids in Belize grow. The fact that you're doing that is a two-way street. That's why friendship is not just one way. We're not just friends and you're really nice to me and I don't ever do anything for you. That's not a friendship. And so what we want to do is see the value of this relationship between Children's Cup and Palos to be, you guys are winning because of it. I really believe that's the way it works, and we're seeing some of that.
So you're talking to us about the way that the kids are receiving help in San Jose, Belize, which is where we've chosen a partnership. Can you, I've been there, but can you, from your perspective, from Children's Cup perspective, help us as a congregation understand a little bit more about what those dynamics are in the village of San Jose Belize. What are the demographics like? What are their greatest needs? What's the local church situation there in San Jose?
It's, Belize in general is a tourism, is a big deal with tourism, and then there's farming and all that. But where San Jose is, it's poverty. Poverty it's a big deal. It's not like everybody's lining up to be poor, but it's just the way it is. And so with poverty, as you can see anywhere you've seen poverty, it comes with it a lot of what translates to its hopelessness. I'm not going to get out of this. I can't amount to anything. One of the terms we use is helping kids to grow up to become something their world says they can't be, or their world is working against them. Poverty rips away so much. A kid growing up in poverty, it rips away so much. And you hear stories of kids who grow up and something snaps and they're like, I'm not going to do this. And they get hold of a dream and they go after it. That's what we want to give these kids in a context of, it's not just your dream, it's God's dream for your life. And so their situation, though, is poverty, and the alternatives that pushes them to. Gang activity is one big one. So my solution to being poor is I'm going to join a gang because, A, that supplies some of my physical needs, but then it also becomes a family for them. We've had so many kids that came to us and they were breaking away from the family that they found in a gang because they found a family that was not just legal, but it was actually fulfilling to be a part of a family at a care point. We call it the San Jose location, we call it a care point. So the bottom line is it's hopelessness, but it looks like poverty there, which produces all kinds of negative alternatives. But then the solution to hopelessness is pretty easy. It's in the definition of the word. It's hope. So you give them hope and you start to break that. I want to ask you, why did you pick when you went? You guys went to a bunch of different places in Belize, but why San Jose? What grabbed you about it?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think on the vision trip where we had an opportunity to see a number of different care points and different communities, San Jose was really not on my radar because they didn't have a care point. It was just this little church doing one meal a week. The pastors there couldn't speak English. And I'm like, oh my goodness, is this the right shot for us, right? Is this the best thing? And it's amazing, though, that it really is. Our vision team, there was 4 of us that went down, and we came back and shared our experiences with our mission committee here. And we just started praying about it, and then we went back to Children's Cup and said, hey, so tell us a little bit about the options. We saw them on the ground. And it was kind of funny. You asked, why did we pick San Jose? I think we picked San Jose because when we did a big Zoom call with Children's Cup, and I was asking, so what about this care point? What about this one? Where's the partnership here, partnership there? And you guys were just like, yeah, so we'll tell you all about the rest, but we want you in San Jose. And I was kind of annoyed. I'm like, it's not what this Zoom call was supposed to be. And so the more we talked and the more they shared their vision for what was happening there, the more they shared about the heart of the pastors at that church, the more they shared how they'd been doing stuff on their own, and they were proving, like we want to make a difference in these kids' lives, and then sharing with us what an impact we might be able to have partnering with a church that doesn't have a care point yet. And honestly, I think I was most leery of the fact that could our little church really help start up a care point? Or would we be better off just partnering where a care point already exists? And I think I was probably lacking a little confidence, and the Lord really got a hold of me through those conversations, through our prayer together, through some of the people on our worship committee that were like, come on, we can do this. And last year when we had our first Children's Cup Sunday, you've told me, I didn't know, I don't have any perspective of how other churches do this, but you told me, you're like, you guys blew it out of the water, right? Like we responded in a way, our congregation responded in a way that I wasn't expecting. And it just shows that I didn't choose it. Our missions committee didn't choose it. God chose it for us. And I'm just grateful that we were able, myself included, to come listen and say, let's do it.
And we don't normally tell somebody, hey, this is where we need you. We'll say, there's a great need here. But something about that, I feel like it was God leading the whole thing. And you're right. I mean, it wasn't just a per capita like we have some big churches that do more. No, you had more people sign up, just sheer number of people sign up that day to sponsor kids or now be friends. It's amazing. And that says to me there's something special that God's doing in this relationship between Children's Cup and Palos, but it's something he's doing in Palos. Like in your church, he's stirring something that says, hey, there's a heart of generosity, and you are actually making a difference in Palos, but you're also making a difference in San Jose. Like making a difference, what's that mean? You butterfly effect, you breathe air, you make a difference. But I mean, there's kids there, and here's the thing: it's not just the kids; it's the workers at that care point. You watching that video? We're showing a bunch of kids, and then there's this guy with a beard. I'm like, well, why is he in there? But I know him. He's one of our workers in Honduras, because we're changing his life too, and the impact you're having through a bunch of you got together and wrote a bunch of notes, just love letters to the kids and to the team. That ministered to the team so much. Like when you go in November, you've got a week you're going to be on the ground with them. The impact you have on the kids will be tremendous. The impact you have on the team will live on for the other 51 weeks or however long it is till you go again, 4 weeks, whatever.
Right.
That you're having an impact in their lives, which is changing. It legitimately is changing lives.
So you talk about changing lives, right? And we have a limited perspective. Most of us in this church haven't been on a mission trip. We've not been in Belize, and we haven't been to a care point anywhere else for Children's Cup. So give us, and you don't have to just be specific here to San Jose, Belize, at the care point that we're engaged with, but tell us, how have you seen these communities where Children's Cup is partnering and building these care points and serving kids? How have you seen the communities, the children who are being served, and even the churches who are partnering? How have you seen those things impacted as a result of the partnership with Children's Cup?
Well, like you mentioned, this in San Jose, that church was doing what they could to feed kids once a week. That's what they could handle. We look for that type of partnership because there's a heart already to do it, and they just don't have the resources. So we're partnering in that light. So in that way, we're helping the church do what is in their heart already to do. And so we're not going into the partnerships where they're just sitting around, they don't want to do anything. Find those that are already doing and enabling, empowering them to do more. With the kids, the impact that happens on those kids is one story. There was a kid, I mentioned it a second ago, with the kids that come, they're part of a gang, and then they come to a care point. There was a kid, he's like 15 years old. He's joined a gang. 13, 14, 15 is kind of by then you're in. You're either doing gangs or you're out of society. And so he's doing this, didn't want to, but he's like, this is the only option I've got. Well, a friend of his chose to go to the care point nearby in their community. His friend says, hey, Mario, you ought to come check this out with me. And so the kid comes and just looks at it. He's like, it dawns on him, hey, I've got an option to the gang. I can be a part of a family. And he found a safe place, because gang activity is not just like, it's serious. Like there's, in one of our countries, in Mexico, the kids at the care point, like every week, one of their family members gets shot because of gang-related activity. It's real. And so it's real and it's brutal, and they don't want to do it, but they just get sucked in. Well, he was looking for a place to belong. Found that at a care point. He found a safe place to be, found love that he didn't even know was love of Jesus when he felt. He was like, I'm actually loved here. And that care point community ended up welcoming him in. He actually bailed out of the gang, got out of the gang, and became just, hey, I'm at the care point now. And he's been faithful. Now he's gone through a program which we're implementing at all of our care points that is, as the kids get older, we're preparing them for adulthood. Job and life and job readiness is what the subtitle of Foundations. And those kids, they get trained how to present yourself for a job, and it's discipleship all the way, but it's also the real practical. Okay, you need to take a shower. You need to brush your teeth. All those things, getting them just ready to be a good husband or a good mom or a good dad. All those things. This kid went through that program, and with 7 other kids, and all 8 of them, by the time the program was over, 2 weeks after the program ended, they all had job offers, and the ones that wanted to go to university had been accepted to university, some both. And Mario specifically, he got 2 jobs, and he still, in his free time, comes back to the care point to serve. And here's the beautiful thing about that, is the younger kids, I was talking to him, just hearing his story, hearing his heart, and then, we prayed together. I actually asked him to pray over our team. He prayed like, he prayed. There's people who pray, and then there's people who pray. And this kid's like 17 years old, and he's just praying over us. And I was like, man, God, you're doing something real in this kid's life. He goes away, and then there's these other younger kids, 14, 15 years old, they're sitting there just kind of observing all this. So I turned and said, what do you think about when you see Mario and the others? They're like, we want to be like them. This is what we need for them to not just see us from the U.S. coming in and them say, man, I'd love to be like that. They're going to write it off. I can't be American. I'm here. I'm in my situation. But when they see somebody that's ahead of them a couple years, and they have that example. So it is transformative. It is those kids find a safe place, they're loved, and they find that, hey, there is a choice, there's an alternative to what the world offers, and we can go after it.
You talk a lot about the safe place. We use the term care point, right? That's the location that these children are coming to, and they're getting meals and discipleship and after-school programs. And so we've been talking here at our church about the opportunity to help Children's Cup purchase a piece of land. And everybody, hopefully, when you walked in, you got an envelope. It's got a little Children's Cup sticker on it. That's for our special offering today. And we'll pray for that in a little bit. And so we're hoping to be able to really help you in today's special offering, to be able to purchase that land. And so tell us, what does this land acquisition, like how does the acquisition of this land that is directly next door to the current church that's got the care point, what kind of impact does Children's Cup see that having on the San Jose community?
Well, there's the practical part. You've got a church that's fitting this into their environment, but to be right next door to the church means the kids it's not changing their route. They're just right there on the way home from school. They can come to this care point, but it's still connected visually and in every way. The volunteers working there are from the church, so it's still, in a way, we're expanding the church. It's Children's Cups, but that gives us, because it's not on the church property, but it's next door, it gives us the ability to say, we need to put this structure here. We're not messing with the church. We're not bothering the church with what they're doing. But it's more than that. It gives us where we can have a larger area, more facility for them to be able to. And the first step in it is going to be a covered dining area. We call it dining area. We used to call it feeding center. I'm like, it sounds like cattle. We're not doing that anymore. It may come out once in a while. We call it a feeding site. But it's a dining area. It's a covered, paved dining area where those kids can come. It's rain or shine. They've got shelter to be able to eat in. And then a kitchen, and that gives us the ability to serve them, and for them to feel like, hey, this is, and a lot of them will call this is my care point. This is my place. You guys walk in here, this is my church. You feel that because it's you belong. And that's what we give those kids. And that, again, in their world, that's not something they have much of a place, this is mine and I'm proud of it. And so it gives them that, and it just draws more kids in. That's the other thing. It gives us more capacity for more kids in San Jose because there's a lot of them.
Yeah, the care point at San Jose is serving between 75 and 100 kids, and it is tight. Mm-hmm. The building itself where the kids, eat meals and have their meetings, but also just the land outside the building. There's not a big place for the kids to play, to do any kind of activities. And so I want you to share with us a little bit, and I hope we get these pictures up here. I'm the one that turned them in late. We got some phases.
So it'll start that dotted area on the left between, you see the two trees that are very, very round trees. This Belize, they have round trees in Belize. Right below that, it says open air dining space. That'll be, it's like a pavilion. And so that'll be what I was talking about, the feeding center. And then the kitchen right at the bottom left corner, that's the other piece to go with it. Because again, what draws those kids in after school, poverty situation, they're all hungry. And so to be able to feed them, we'll have the kitchen. And then from there, you have restrooms. Just to be legal, you got to have restrooms. And it's also kind of smart because that's not what the trees are for. And then the classrooms, we'll have those rooms where we can do different, like the training. The program we have now is very cohesive, challenging kids to memorize scripture, to finish fourth grade, to learn English, and all these things. Those classes will be good for that. And then behind is where we want to put a basketball court in, which probably will be used more for soccer than basketball, but it can serve dual purpose. No rugby, not allowed on concrete. And then at the very back of the property will be a playground, which you were just talking about. You remember being a kid, you're looking for a playground all the time. And all of those things serve to draw the kids in. And that's what we really want. We have the word of mouth, but you also have the kid walking by after school is, oh, there's a playground, I'm going to go play. And what they get broadsided with is love and Jesus. Yeah. And we like doing that.
Can you put one of the pictures of the land, if you can? So I just wanted to show this vacant area is the land that we're looking to help Children's Cup purchase. And this orange and white structure on the right side of the screen, that's actually the edge of Fuente de Vida Church. So when we say it's directly next door, that's their sanctuary, and this would be the Children's Cup land that we're hoping to help them purchase. So that's what the special offering's for. It's really exciting that is, it's right there.
Yes.
It's right next door.
Literally right there.
Pretty amazing.
Yeah.
If you could just kind of in closing, if you could help us to understand, maybe you see a lot of the impact that churches in America that are partnering with Children's Cup are having on the communities all around the world. You guys have 60-some care points now, thousands of kids that are being served each day. Help us as a church, though, to understand kind of what impact does our partnership with Children's Cup, what kind of impact can that have on us as a church as well?
Well, if you take away what you're doing, then San Jose is still feeding once a week. There's churches trying to feed kids once a week, and so the impact on the ground it's very easy to see. So I wouldn't want to do this, but if you take away Children's Cup from Palos, what would be missing? What would be missing? And I think what our prayer is, and what I see happening here, you talk about it, is there's a little bit of a fire being lit in something that maybe you haven't done in a while, but you're seeing God actually stir your heart about something to say, oh, we can actually make a difference in Manuel's life, not Manuel the director, but Manuel the little kid. You can make a difference in these kids' lives. We can actually see when we get to heaven all these lives that were changed. Because here's the thing, you're not going to see it in this life. You're not going to see the full impact of your generosity, of your prayers, of your effort, of your going. You can't see all of it. But the part you do get to see, you just got to know, every one of those kids that you help, you be a friend to that kid, you help him go through the program, then that kid's family is changed. That kid's descendants are changed. The impact you're having, it changes them, but it's not just their descendants. It's not just their family. That kid goes home to her mom and dad, and she tells them about what she learned about Jesus. That's wonderful. That's a part of our strategy. The other part of this is it changes you. You go out and you visit these kids, and God grabs your heart. It changes your household. You come back and you tell, man, I didn't think God could use me like that, but I got to pray with this grandmother, and God healed her. Or I got to pray with this uncle of one of the kids, or this little kid, and they gave their heart to Jesus. You come back and you tell your family about that. It changes your own household, and it changes your church. The impact is God's. We were talking about this last night. God's kingdom is so many more layers than we realize. So when we get to heaven, we'll finally be able to realize it. But it has to be that as you guys do what you're doing, the generosity, the prayers, the engagement, the going, praying, giving, going. As you do that, it lights a fire inside of you where your faith grows, and it makes you more impactful here in Chicago, Palos, in your neighborhood, in your home, in your family. Your descendants will be different because of what you're doing.
Dan, I want to thank you for coming here from Baton Rouge, Louisiana to be with us this morning. Dan's going to be downstairs immediately after the service. We've got a party set up down in the fellowship hall, and if any of you are interested in learning more about Children's Cup, if you want to sign up to be a friend and do that, you can sign up down there. You can sign up for interest on the mission trip. I'm going to pray for Dan. I'm going to pray for Children's Cup, and I'm also going to combine that with our prayer for our offering this morning, because part of our offering this morning is not just giving our normal tithes and offerings that we give to support the ministries of this church, which through that giving, we are already partnering with Children's Cup. But we're also asking you guys to dig a little deeper, to pray about giving sacrificially to help purchase this piece of property for Children's Cup in San Jose, Belize. And so that's why those special envelopes were handed out to you. And I just want to ask you if that's somewhere you're feeling led, just to fill out, you can do a check, put it in that envelope, and drop it in our offering basket. If you give online, just make sure that you put in the memo of that online giving form Children's Cup, and we'll be able to count all that and give that number to them later this week so that they can get out there and start that acquisition of the land. So I'm going to pray now for Dan, and I'm also going to pray for our offering before we move into a time of communion.